Did you know the biggest mistake most football clubs make after a crushing defeat isn't on the pitch, it's in the locker room? The wrong focus, the wrong message, and suddenly talent, morale, and fans' trust start slipping away. But what if one simple shift in leadership could turn frustration into unstoppable momentum? In the next few minutes, we're revealing the exact strategy Inter is using right now to rise stronger after a derby collapse, and what happens next might shock you. We'll explain everything in this video, step by step, don't skip it. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because the drama in Milan is reaching boiling point. After a derby that shook the city, rattled the stadium, and sent fans into absolute disbelief, Chivu has spoken, but not about what everyone expected. Inter fall short in the derby. Emotions flare, pressure skyrockets, and when the microphones rush toward Cristian Chivu, the man stands tall, calm, collected, and completely shuts the door on the transfer market. Chatter? Oh no, not today, says Chivu with his body language, not after that result. And honestly, can anyone blame him? Because this wasn't just any defeat, this was a derby defeat. The kind that haunts training sessions, sparks headlines, and sends the fan base into overdrive. The kind where every misplaced pass feels 10 times heavier, and every missed chance echoes around Milan like thunder. And yet, in the middle of this storm, Chivu keeps the focus exactly where he believes it should be. The players, the pitch, the performance. No shortcuts, no excuses, no distractions about who might arrive or who might leave. At a moment when rumours are flying faster than counterattacks, Chivu locks in with laser-sharp determination. And that is where the real story begins. Because when a coach refuses to talk about transfers, it's not silence, oh no, it's a statement. It's a message to the squad. Right now, you are my players, you are my priority, and you will decide how Inter rise from this setback. You can feel the intensity. You can feel the frustration. You can feel the hunger for redemption building inside the dressing room like a dormant volcano. The derby brought heartache, but heartache fuels comebacks. And if there's one thing we know about Inter, they never stay down for long. Chivu's decision isn't just professionalism, it's a rallying cry, a shield around his players, a promise to fight back stronger, sharper and louder than ever. So as Milan celebrates and Inter regroups, one thing is certain. This story is far from over. This defeat is just a spark. And with Chivu refusing to be dragged into market chaos, you can bet Inter are preparing something fierce. Stay tuned, because if the derby gave us heartbreak, the response, oh, that might just give us fireworks. Chivu refuses to discuss Inter's transfer plans after the derby defeat, and this moment becomes the centre of post-match drama as reporters crowd around him expecting bold statements, emotional reactions, or at least a hint of upcoming market strategies, but instead they're met with a firm, almost stoic refusal. This decision from Chivu isn't just about shutting down questions, it reflects a deeper layer of leadership, responsibility and emotional control in one of the most heated moments of Inter's season. After a derby loss, especially in Milan where the rivalry carries generations of pride, frustration and identity, anyone in his position will be tempted to redirect attention, perhaps even subconsciously comfort themselves or the fans by pointing to reinforcements or new signings. But Chivu stands there with full awareness that talking about transfers immediately after a painful defeat would send the wrong message to his players. Instead of deflecting blame or implying that the squad isn't enough, he protects the group by refusing to let the conversation drift toward future arrivals or departures. His silence on the topic becomes louder than any transfer rumour. It signals that he wants accountability now, not hypotheticals. It shows that his focus stays on improvement, discipline and unity rather than speculation. This moment also highlights how deeply he understands the emotional climate inside the club. After a derby defeat, players are vulnerable, fans are emotional, and journalists are hungry for controversy. One wrong sentence can turn into a week-long media storm, and Chivu seems determined not to give anyone that spark. By avoiding transfer talk, he shields his team from unnecessary pressure, preventing the narrative from shifting toward Inter need new players, or the coach wants replacements. Instead, he forces the attention back onto the pitch, onto the performance, onto the mistakes and lessons that matter more than transfer windows. And while some fans might crave answers, strategies or big promises, Chivu's approach shows discipline rooted in respect for his players and respect for the badge. He knows that every defeat tells its own story and every derby loss shakes the squad differently. There is a psychological recovery process, and he chooses to guide his team through it without distractions. His posture, his tone, his controlled expressions all reflect a coach thinking 5 steps ahead, someone who won't let emotions dictate his words. In that silence, there is a message of belief. Belief that the team he has right now still has the potential to rebound. Belief that strength comes from within the squad. Belief that a derby defeat doesn't define Inter's season. The refusal to engage in transfer discussions becomes a moment of leadership, one that shows resolve rather than vulnerability, clarity rather than chaos, and loyalty rather than doubt. Focus shifts entirely to player performance and rebuilding morale as Inter find themselves in the emotional aftermath of a derby defeat that weighs heavily on every individual in the squad. In moments like these, the noise around the club becomes louder than ever, with fans demanding answers, pundits dissecting every mistake, and the media crafting narratives from every facial expression and every sentence. But inside the dressing room, Chivu pushes all of that aside to redirect the team's energy toward what truly matters, the response on the pitch. He knows that defeats like this are more than just lost points. They test character, unity, and mental strength. Instead of dwelling on external topics, he places the emphasis on introspection, demanding that every player reflect on their performance, their decisions, their work rate, and the small details that can change the outcome of a derby. This is the moment when leaders inside the squad must step forward, not with dramatic speeches, but through attitude, discipline, and the desire to push harder than before. The training sessions after such matches become a mirror where mistakes are acknowledged but not obsessed over, where energy must turn from frustration to motivation. Chivu encourages the team to rebuild piece by piece, starting with confidence, because he understands that confidence is the first thing shaken by a high-pressure defeat. He reminds his players that identity is not lost in a single match, and that the fight to regain momentum begins with trust in themselves and in each other. The focus on performance becomes a tool to help the players rediscover their rhythm, sharpen their decision-making, and regain control of their emotions. It shifts the group from feeling wounded to feeling responsible, and responsibility is what drives improvement. Morale rebuilding isn't just about motivation, it's about creating an environment where players feel supported but also challenged, where mistakes are addressed honestly but without blame, where pressure is shared collectively rather than carried individually. Chivu's approach aims to transform the raw emotions left by the derby into fuel for the upcoming fixtures, reminding everyone that football always offers another chance to write a different story. By prioritising performance over excuses, he sets a tone that the team must rise through effort rather than external solutions. This shift in focus stabilises the atmosphere, reduces the temptation to panic, and sends a message that progress comes through unity. The players begin to sense that the solution isn't in new signings or changes beyond their control, it's in their own commitment, intensity, and willingness to respond with strength rather than surrender. Training gradually becomes sharper, communication becomes clearer, and the group feels a renewed sense of purpose as they prepare to step back onto the pitch with the determination to turn the disappointment of the derby into a catalyst for growth and resilience. Derby loss intensifies pressure on Inter's squad and coaching staff as the weight of expectations grows heavier with every passing hour. In a city where football emotions run deep and rivalries carry decades of history, losing a derby is never just another defeat. It becomes a moment that tests every layer of the club. From the mentality of the players to the tactical decisions of the coach, the pressure doesn't come from one direction alone. It pours in from fans who feel the sting of bragging rights slipping away, from media outlets eager to dissect every tactical flaw, and from within the squad itself, where players understand that performances in such matches define reputations. This intensified pressure creates an atmosphere where every action feels magnified, where even the smallest errors become talking points, and where determination and composure become just as important as physical ability. The coaching staff feels the scrutiny most intensely because the derby is often seen as a reflection of preparation, discipline, and leadership. They must balance the need to correct mistakes with the responsibility of keeping the team emotionally stable. Tactical adjustments are necessary, but they must be delivered without undermining confidence. The squad senses this tension as well. For many players, a derby defeat lingers in their thoughts long after the final whistle. They replay missed chances, misread movements, and moments where the match could have shifted. This introspection, while natural, can quickly become internal pressure, pushing individuals to feel personally accountable for the team's struggles. The challenge becomes, transforming that pressure into productive energy, using it as motivation rather than letting it drag down morale. Chivu and his staff work to guide the players through this process, knowing that the emotional response after a derby can shape the team's trajectory for weeks. The pressure also exposes the depth of mental strength within the squad, revealing which players rise in difficult moments and which ones shrink under the intensity. Training sessions take on a different tone in the days following the loss, becoming sharper, more urgent, and filled with an unspoken demand for improvement. Every drill feels more meaningful, every instruction more critical, and every decision more carefully evaluated. The players are aware that fans and critics are watching closely, waiting to see how the team responds. This awareness can fuel anxiety, but it can also ignite determination. The coaching staff understands this balance and works to ensure the atmosphere remains constructive rather than chaotic. They emphasise collective responsibility, reminding the group that no single player or mistake defines the derby or the team. In this heightened environment, unity becomes essential, because pressure unshared becomes overwhelming. The squad must pull together, supporting one another, while also pushing each other to be better. The intensity that follows a derby defeat can either fracture a team or forge a stronger one, and to stand at that crossroads, feeling the full weight of expectations as they prepare for the next challenge. Media and fans react strongly to Chivu's post-match silence on transfers as the derby defeat becomes the perfect spark for debates, opinions and emotional outbursts from every corner of the football world. In the hours following the match, social media platforms explode with reactions, from frustrated supporters demanding explanations to analysts questioning the timing and meaning behind Chivu's refusal. For many fans, the derby is more than a game. It is a matter of pride, emotion and identity. So when Chivu declines to discuss transfer matters, it feels like a moment packed with hidden messages and deeper implications. Some see it as a sign of loyalty to the current squad. Others interpret it as a protective gesture. And some fear that it signals internal tension or uncertainty within the club. The media, always eager for a storyline, latch onto his silence immediately. Headlines begin to shape narratives that may not exist, creating scenarios of unrest or sharp divisions, because transfer discussions are usually where coaches hint at the club's ambitions. When Chivu chooses not to speak, journalists fill the void with speculation. Television panels replay his brief post-match appearance repeatedly, analysing every expression, every pause, every choice of wording to extract meaning. Some experts praise him for keeping the focus on the players, insisting that transfer talk right after an emotional derby would be irresponsible. Others criticise the move, arguing that fans crave reassurance and clarity, especially after a painful loss. The duality of reactions reflects the emotional volatility of football in a city like Milan, where every gesture is magnified and every comment becomes a talking point. Among fans, discussions in forums and group chats intensify. Some supporters defend Chivu, saying he's right to avoid feeding the media circus at such a delicate moment. Others believe he missed an opportunity to calm the storm by at least giving a hint about the club's direction. This mix of frustration, loyalty and curiosity fuels the conversation even more. As the debate grows louder, Chivu's silence begins to carry symbolic weight. Instead of providing clarity, it opens doors to endless interpretations, turning a simple refusal into a major storyline. For the players, this media frenzy becomes another layer of noise they must navigate. They see their names linked to transfer rumours, potential replacements, or tactical shifts, even when none of it comes directly from the coach himself. This can create uncertainty, but it can also unify the squad as they realise that external narratives do not match the internal focus. Meanwhile, the media continues to push for answers, attending every press conference with renewed intensity, hoping Chivu might finally address the subject. The energy surrounding his silence becomes almost as significant as the derby defeat itself, showing how powerful and influential a single unsaid sentence can be in the world of football. Inter prepares for a determined comeback fueled by frustration and pride as the echoes of the derby defeat continue to resonate throughout the squad, the training ground and the city itself. The sting of losing a match that carries so much history and emotion cannot be understated, and Chivu knows that the team's response in the days following is just as important as the performance on the day itself. Every defeat leaves lessons, and every setback presents an opportunity for growth. But converting disappointment into a productive force requires careful planning, motivation, and mental resilience. The squad approaches training with a heightened sense of purpose, aware that this moment defines not only the next few matches, but also the character of the group as a whole. Chivu emphasises intensity, focus and sharpness in every drill, ensuring that players do not carry lingering frustration into future performances, but instead channel it into energy, concentration and determination. The coaching staff design sessions that simulate high-pressure scenarios, encouraging players to make quicker decisions, maintain composure under duress, and execute tactical plans with precision. Mental conditioning becomes a priority alongside physical preparation as the team works to rebuild confidence shaken by the derby result. Frustration is acknowledged, but it is guided and shaped into motivation, creating a controlled environment where energy is directed toward improvement rather than chaos. Pride becomes the unifying force within the squad, reminding players of the badge they represent, the fans who support them passionately, and the history of the club they aim to honour. Every session carries the subtle message that redemption is possible, that mistakes can be corrected, and that resilience is forged through effort and commitment. Chivu communicates constantly with the players, reinforcing belief in their abilities while also setting high expectations. He highlights small victories, improvements in positioning, sharper passing and stronger defensive organisation to rebuild confidence gradually. The team begins to see that the comeback is not just about winning the next match, but about reclaiming identity, restoring momentum and demonstrating that a derby loss does not define the season. Leadership emerges organically within the squad, with senior players mentoring younger teammates, offering guidance and modelling the mentality required to bounce back. Communication and cohesion improve as players understand that unity is critical in overcoming adversity. The combination of structured training, mental resilience and a shared sense of purpose begins to transform frustration into determination and uncertainty into focus. Match preparation now carries a different intensity. Tactical discussions are infused with urgency, strategic planning is analysed meticulously, and every training exercise is treated as a rehearsal for proving capability and pride on the field. Fans begin to notice subtle changes in the team's approach, energy levels and attitude during interviews and matches, sensing that the squad is preparing to respond decisively to the setback. The narrative around the club gradually shifts from disappointment to anticipation, as everyone recognises that a focused, motivated Inter is on the rise. The desire to reclaim honour, regain confidence and demonstrate resilience drives every action in training, every adjustment in tactics and every motivational discussion, building a momentum that seeks to transform the frustration of the derby into the fuel for an inspired and determined comeback. Thank you for listening and don't forget to like and subscribe.